don't remember what's wrong and what's right. The world is dead, but we stay. 'Cause we are born as living fights. We live to die. We live to die. And we surrounded by the night. We live to die. We are shadows in the neon light. We are shadows in the neon light. We are shadows in the neon. We are We are just shadows. It's supposed to be that we die. It doesn't matter if there is no light anymore, no light anymore. 'Cause we are born as living fights. We live to die. We live to die. And we surrounded by the night. We live to die. We are shadows in the neon light. We are shadows in the neon light. We are shadows in the neon. We are
We like to think we have some form of control still, making our constant binary choices and voicing our equally shallow opinions more loudly or quietly. Most people can't even decide what color to wear or which.
All right, we are live.
Okay,
Almost
and now
without
that
a
we,
hitch. So, welcome to sixth podcast, first one of the week, and we have me and Teemu and Cameron here today. So Janne is out.
but he's not out until forever. But
Yeah.
anyway, so before we dive into esports, I want to continue this conversation I was having with Cameron before we went live. Because Cameron here is saying that Taco Bell is the best fast food joint in the world, and that's just like your opinion is so wrong in so many ways.
Well, see, you have to like specify what you classify as a fast food restaurant.
Well, fast food restaurants, you have like the big chains, like you have the Taco Bells and KFCs and whatnot. So usually it's either like a burger joint or like taco joint or something. So Chipotle, for example, is fast food, and in no universe is Taco Bell better than Chipotle.
I mean, I for one hate Chipotle.
How is that even possible? How can you love Taco Bell and hate Chipotle?
So they used to have these bacon grease fried pinto beans that they put in their burritos, and they got rid of those. And that's why I hate Chipotle, because those pinto beans were the best pinto beans I've ever had. But I wouldn't consider Chipotle fast food because it doesn't have a drive-through.
That's a very American thing to say.
That is a very American thing.
Okay, so we can kind of conclude this in a mutual disagreement, probably, because of cultural differences when it comes to defining fast food.
I'm just saying, if you haven't had...
Yeah.
No, you go.
Yeah, I have no idea what you said because HR wanted me to post a picture of me working from home, so I took a selfie. So I have no idea what happened.
Oh, but you're coming to Europe soon, so that means, well, soon as this shit is over. So, we need to take you to Finland so you can taste Hesburger. Because that's pretty damn good.
Me?
It's It's not Five Guys good, but it's like above Mickey D's and Wendy's and shit.
I don't like Hesburger myself, so.
Well, there's something definitely
wrong.
wrong.
But there is a specific reason for that, because their mayonnaise has pickles on it, and I hate pickles, so.
Oh, some relish.
How can you hate pickles? Like, you can't have a burger without pickles.
Yeah, exactly. That's a problem. It takes away from experience.
So basically, your opinions in burgers are irrelevant.
Yep. So that's why I didn't say anything for that.
Okay.
I just took selfies.
But you must have a numero uno fast food joint. So what is that then?
For me, for burgers and what's available in Finland, I think the Burger King is the best one. I like the Burger King.
Well,
wow. But there is McDonald's, Hesburger, and Burger King. Like these are the three options in Finland. So
yeah, true.
It's definitely better than McDonald's, and I don't like Hesburger's mayonnaise. So
fair. Yeah, in America you have like 15 different burger joints next to each other where to choose from.
Yeah, I mean seriously, Burger King is like number 12 on all the burger fast food stores. Like it's surprising to hear Burger King get praised.
But I actually do like Taco Bell. It's something different. In Finland we don't have anything to compare it with, so I actually do like Taco Bell and it's definitely better like 4 a.m. food than like McDonald's.
Oh, 100%. It's you're wasted with your buddies on a Friday night going to fast food Taco Bell.
Yeah. Are you okay, Teemu?
Yeah, I was just listening to some weird sounds, but someone is like wrecking up the elevator, I think.
Yeah, again.
Okay, so enough of fast food and burgers. The conclusion is that I win. Chipotle and Five Guys are still the best.
Yeah, you pay our salaries, so you win always.
Yeah, you win. You approve the shit. No
I love these arguments. Yeah. So the actual topics of today are going to be ESL Pro League results from the weekend and today's games. Now we have FLASHPOINT weekend results and today's games. Then we're going to talk a little bit about LEC, LCS, and We Play charity event. After that, the second hour of the podcast is going to be dedicated for League of Legends viewer experience, meaning that these two fellas who are with me in the Twitch stream at the moment are going to watch a VOD of a professional game and explain it to you viewers to make esports more accessible for new pairs of eyes, considering that esports is the only available sports as entertainment at the moment. So we want to help people to understand the games a little bit better. On Friday, we spent about 55 minutes talking about Counter-Strike Global Offensive. The VOD of that is available in YouTube if you want to see it. And yeah, today we will dive into League of Legends, and the VOD will be uploaded to YouTube later today or by tomorrow, or tomorrow. So with that said, I think it's time to dive into the world of ESL Pro League and the results of the weekend,
Yep.
where I must say we didn't see too many surprises, to be honest. Seems like teams are finally starting to fall into their places. On Friday, at first, NIP 2-0'd Godsend, which we can say is quite expected. But the biggest surprise of the weekend was the second series on Friday, where Vitality fell against Team Spirit 1-2. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about Vitality having to replace Alex after Alex left the team for personal reasons. It was a tight series in the sense that Vitality won Inferno 16-9. Then they lost Dust 2 5-16, which was quite surprising. And then on Overpass, Spirit were better 16-13. So that was quite of a big surprise. I would not have expected Spirit to be able to beat Vitality. Zaiwu was pretty good again. And then again, Misuta and Apex were kind of lost in translation on Friday. So unexpected result. Very good job for Spirit, but Vitality should have done a lot better. And then the last series of the day on Friday was between Astralis and ENCE. Astralis has not been on their best lately. They did beat ENCE 2-1, but it was actually a really tight series. Now, it's quite fair to say that Astralis has not been themselves. And even though it was the best ENCE we've seen for a while, not too much of things that should be taken out of that, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, it's actually looked good in that game, and it gave some promises for the upcoming Godsend game, and of course Astralis isn't like in their best performance right now, but still taking a map away from Astralis is always a good performance, and I
Yeah.
think it's something to be happy about for instance, but of course they lose the series and pretty much lost the playoff place with that. So
Yeah. Then on Saturday, the first series was between Big and Complexity, where the Americans won 1-2. Not well, kind of American, semi-mixed, but anyway. Big has been pretty good, but you would assume that Complexity wins it. So yeah, then Navi won against Force 2-1 after two devastating series to start the season. Navi really needed this win. Again, it wasn't the best Navi, losing the first map and then winning the second on overtime to force a decider and then 16-13 in Nuke.
yeah,
Simple wasn't top fragging even.
yeah, to be honest, that was too close for Navi to be a 0-2 because Force really had a chance to win that.
Oh, he's
second
really
map.
close to for
Yeah.
2-0. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would have been an absolute disaster for Navi.
Yeah.
Then in the last series on Saturday, Fnatic bested North 2-1. Then if we move towards on Sunday, the first series of the day was between ENCE and Godsend, and for the first two maps, it seemed like the Finns are climbing back and they were able to build on their good plays versus Astralis. But then going into Dust 2, it was quite horrible, losing 12-3 the first and then 16-4 in total. Godsend is a good team, but it's a team that has to win. You need to be able to win. You can't lose 16-4. I mean, you play two good maps, two good tight maps. It was close that ends even won on Nuke. You know, they forced overtime. They made a pretty good comeback, and then just everything fell apart in overtime. And then Dust 2 was absolutely a clinical performance by Godsend. Yeah, so this means ENS is not going. Now it's 100% sure that ENS isn't going to playoffs. They won two maps so far and lost 6, so there isn't much to talk about in there. Second series on Sunday, Astralis 2-0 Spirit.
One thing
Yeah.
about that, but the Godsend is like 6 places ahead of ENS right now in HLTV TV ranking. So to be honest, Godsend was a favorite for that game, and they did win that. So that's not that bad of a thing for ENS. Of course, ENS was top 3 team not so long ago, but in current form, they are way below Godsend in the rankings.
Yeah, well, ENS at the moment is one of the lowest teams in the tournament when it comes to performance. Looking at rankings per se doesn't tell the full story because it takes time for the rankings to update because of the amount of tournaments we're having. So, but still, ENS were able to compete with Godsend on the first two maps, and then just everything falls apart. So.
Yeah, the Dust 2 was really hard to watch, and I really believed that ENS would win this after the two maps. The second map was very close for ENS to be a 2-0, and then everything fell apart. I don't know what happened in Dust, but it was so hard to watch. Like in the same weekend, we have seen the best ENS and the worst ENS we have seen in like this year, or even after the roster change. So you cannot play any worse than you play in the Dust 2.
Yeah. Then the last two series on yesterday were Astralis 2-0 Spirit, expectedly, and then Vitality 2-0 NIP. So Vitality kind of got their face wash after losing to Spirit on Friday. And so let's go over today's games of ESL Pro League and then talk a little bit more about Astralis and FLASHPOINT too. So today, the first series of the day will be between Fnatic and Force. The Swedes are quite a big favorite. Their odds are between 1.3, 1.4, where you can get even over 3 for Force on some websites. Between 2.7, 2.8 is kind of where it's falling. Expecting a 2-0 for Fnatic. I mean, Force has been good. They've been able to surprise, but Fnatic should sweep this.
I don't expect 2-0. I expect this to go full 3 maps.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think Force will take their map. I'm pretty convinced about their play, and I really think that even if Fnatic has been very strong, they are not the strongest team in the league, and the Force has shown that they can take maps and even series away from teams even better than Fnatic. So I think this gonna be full 3 maps, but I think still the Fnatic will win, but I think it's not gonna be 2-0.
Okay. Second series will be between North and Big. The Germans going in as a favorite. The odds favor them with about 1.6, and for North you can get about 2.2, 2.3. North hasn't been super good lately. I mean, they haven't been horrible or bad, but I think they could have been a bit better. I think Big is going to win this. I do think it's going to go 3 maps. Both probably will win their respective map picks, and then we'll see what the decider is. But I do think Big is going to win this 2-1.
Yeah, this is 2-1 or 2-0 for Big. North has not looking good.
Yeah. And then the last series of the day is going to be Navi versus Complexity. Navi is quite a big favorite, 1.3 odds, where Complexity is 2.2, 2.3 even. Navi has been really shaky lately, that's definitely for sure. After losing the first two series 2-0 and then barely winning fours. Simple wasn't himself on Saturday even, I would say. So as much as I would kind of like to say that Complexity has a fighting chance here, I really think Simple is gonna come in really heavily and it's gonna be 2-0 for Navi.
I actually think it's 2-0 Navi. Navi has lost maps and lost series for like lower skilled teams, but I think Complexity isn't a team that can really take advantage of Navi's weaknesses right now. I think Complexity is totally crushed in this game, even if Navi isn't in their best. I think they have no chance.
Yeah. And then moving towards the Flashpoint and roster changes that are happening. So is it S3 tag or S tag? How do you say it? S3 tag.
S3 tag, I think, maybe.
Yeah. So Astralis signs S3 tag from Fun Plus Phoenix, aka the old Heroic lineup, which meant that Fun Plus Phoenix was not able to play their game yesterday,
Yeah,
and so they had to forfeit
yeah,
their match against Augless. So
yeah,
you've been reading about this, so please educate us.
yeah. So this is kinda interesting because FunPlus Phoenix themselves haven't given any comment about this, and so has not the Flashpoint. Flashpoint just said they will forfeit and nothing else. But the old heroic players, especially Cadian, have been vocal about this. So I can actually take some Cadian tweets to show you. There is like the first tweet said, "I've been mistreated my fair share in esports, but this one beats them all. Got it." Is the first one he tweeted about it, and then he makes a few minutes update video and he explained what he meant about that, and said that it's nothing towards S attack or S3 tag, and it's towards their forfeit and decisions in that, and there it seems to be possible that Funful Phoenix and Heroic deal can go off because of this roster change. So it seems that there is some clause in the contract that can release Funful Phoenix for the financial side of the deal if there is roster change. So it's possible that the deal will go off and Heroic will still be Heroic, and FunPlus Phoenix will have their place in Flashpoint but no roster to field in there. So
What?
yeah, and Heroic lost their place in ESL Pro League because they joined FunPlus Phoenix and Flashpoint. So it's possible that Heroic players have no place in either of the leagues now because of the roster change. And Heroic is considering legal actions towards Astralis if the deal will go off with FunPlus Phoenix. And all this is relevant information because the players were warming up and S3 Tag will will play a reminder of his heroic contract, which is for beginning of June. So he has said that he is totally available for heroic or OnePlus Phoenix until his contract goes out, because OnePlus Phoenix bought 800,000 price tag for him if Astralis wants him immediately. So Astralis said, okay, we don't want him now, we want him when his contract goes out. And it's 1st of June, I think. And so they had full roster to field in yesterday's game, because they didn't sell S3 tag away. They just announced the contract that will start 1st of June. But when players were warming up for the game, they get info that they cannot play the Flashpoint game. And from who that info came, is it OnePlus Phoenix, is it Heroic, is it Flashpoint? That is not known, at least not officially. And KDN didn't really open up who denied the game from that, because he said that all of the players wanted to play, and all of the players want to play with S3 tag, and they are willing to play for the end of the May with this roster. So it means they are able to play the next Flashpoint season also. But someone, and it's predicted it's OnePlus Phoenix, that didn't like the roster change. They said, okay, we will forfeit, we don't want S3 tag to play. So there is something fishy going on there. And this change can be devastating for Heroic.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I KDN hasn't tweeted after the ones I read yesterday, so I don't know any more.
In this case, I would imagine that the teams are kind of, or the organizations have told the players to shut the fuck up for now.
Yeah, I think so.
Until they can kind of get an understanding of on what's going on and how they can proceed from here. But this is absolutely fucking huge.
Yes.
It's, oh my lord. Okay, so this is definitely something that we're gonna keep monitoring more and more. Obviously, if we hear something, we might write a news article about it or something like that to kind of get an evaluation of what's going on and kind of follow up on this. Wow. Okay. Thanks for the update, Mika. Very good.
I will just I found the Eric Ascaret, the CEO of Heroic, statement, and it says, I am unable to comment at this moment as we are making legal preparations. This is due to the fact that we know and can prove that Astralis has acted in bad faith and have considerably affected the sale of Heroic to FPX.
Okay.
So that means that that there's something unusual that has happened between S3 tag, FPX and Astralis, but they don't want to comment anymore right now. I think lawyers are saying shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Almost sounds like a poaching case. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
I don't know how that works in CS:GO, but in League of Legends, that would be very much considered poaching.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because he's. I don't know if there are clause of any sort, but because he is a contract player of another team, making. You could. I mean, Heroic can definitely have a case here in sort of a way, because it's hard to say without knowing what kind of contracts they have and how the clauses are, but this can turn into a fucking bloodbath even.
Yeah, exactly. And there is real possibility that FPX will get a totally new roster for their Flashpoint. Because they have the Flashpoint, and actually there is some drama around FPX's Flashpoint plays also, because some rumors are saying that they didn't have to pay for the spot as everybody else had to, because Flashpoint was missing few teams to get started. So there is rumors that few of the teams, including FPX, didn't have to pay the $2 million dollars fee for the spot, or at least they don't have to pay it right now. They can evaluate their spot and play it later if they want to stay in the league. So that means that pretty much FPX has no like money on it, so they can do whatever they want with their spot because they have not paid for it. But Flashpoint is saying that's not true. But well, you never know what is true and what is not in these cases. But this is going to be messy, or whatever happens, it's going to be messy. And I'm pretty sure the heroic players are the ones who are getting in the crossfire.
Okay. Well, with that said, let's move into Flashpoint.
Yeah.
My mind is really split at the moment. I'm trying to think how this shit is going to end up. But yes, the results from the weekend, we had 6 games in total played on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm going to go these over quite fast to kind of save some time. So MIBR beats Envy 2-0. Cloud9 wins Dignitas 2-0. These were Friday. Saturday, Mad Lions beats Copenhagen Flames 2-1. And Chaos beats Gen G 2-0. Sunday, Augles won the Fun Plus Phoenix, which was the forfeit. And then the Finnish phenomenon Havu wins over Contact 2-1. Then we have 3 games of Flashpoint being played today. The first ones are starting in 4.5 hours. And in the first game, we have Mad Lions versus Contact. Mad Lions going in as a favorite with 1.5-ish odds, and Contact with about 2.5-ish. Mad Lions has been really good lately, actually. They've been winning a lot of matchups. They did lose to Havu and Mousesports, but they've also won big games. Like they won in Ice Challenge, they won against OG and Heroic. They won against VP North Heroic lately. So a lot of good results. I do think Mad Lions should win this. It might be even 2-0.
Yeah, and Contact wasn't really performing yesterday. Not, I don't want to take anything away from on Havu, but the Contact wasn't really on form, I think, and Havu was on form, so that's because that's the reason that the Havu beat them. So I think Mad Lions will tear them apart today.
Yeah. Then second series of the day will be between MIBR and Gen G. MIBR goes in as a favorite, 1.6-ish odds. Gen G 2.2, around that. MIBR should be able to win this. Gen G has been good. It's fantastic to see Bentet in a competitive lineup being able to kind of show something. So Gen G has been really good also. I do believe MIBR will win this, but it's gonna be 2-1.
Yeah, this is close one. I'm sure Janne would have something to say about MIBR, but he's not here, so we gave MIBR a chance this time.
I can. Janne would say something like Fallen, Taco, and Fer needs to L2P again, kind of, or something similar.
Like
but
that.
yeah. Third series and last series of Flashpoint for today will be Dignitas and Augles. Dignitas is quite a big favorite, 1.3, 1.4 odds. Augles closer to 3. Even though it's kind of the Dignitas is what, retirement club or some sort, and then there's Halzerkorg or Guardian, if they're still playing with the.
They're still playing with Guardian.
Yeah, so it's literally the retirement club. So they have 4 Swedish retirees, and then there's Guardian. Yet still they are performing. I don't know, Get Right, Forest. I mean, well, with Get Right you can't say as good as ever. But he's still obviously an amazing player. Forest just keeps on peaking and peaking. Maybe he started practicing finally to actually get better and become best of the world again. This time by practicing. But yeah, I mean, I do think Dignitas will win this. Probably even 2-0. The Ogles roster isn't just good enough.
Yeah,
Simply.
it's retired against unemployed. So
Okay. Yeah. So that's about Counter-Strike. I thought maybe it's easier if we do the Dota 2 thing now and then move
Yeah,
to
it's
League of
okay.
Legends, so there's no cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a quick overview on the We Play charity, WeSave charity play event. They raised 150,000 euros or US dollars actually so far for charity to help with the Corona thing. Some people have been able to kind of print money with this, especially in Europe, like the Liquid versus OG matchup. OG was playing with 2 substitutes, and you have carry in playing support and stuff. So having almost 4 odds for Liquid to win over OG was pretty easy money, so one could say. There are still series to be played. It's very, very, very entertaining Dota 2. So definitely recommend watching the games because we literally have the best teams in the world competing in the tournament for good cause. So good fun, and luckily there's no DPC points on the line because it would look kind of rough for some of the teams at the moment. But like we've said multiple times so far, even with all the negative impacts that this Corona thing has, we also see a lot of good things in the form of the creativity and what people are willing to do to help others. So it's kind of beautiful at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Before we go to League of Legends, I watched yesterday the F1 simulation Grand Prix, a virtual Grand Prix, and it was, of course, it was meant to be for entertainment, not real esports, but it gathered quite the audience. And before that race, there was the Velos esports,
Not
not
Bach
not
GP.
Bach GP. So actually F1 uh, did some advertisement for that too, not only for their own. So
Yeah,
they
I
were.
mean,
Yeah.
one of the craziest things about it is that like so I met this guy Mickey O'Brien
Mm.
at ICE in February in London, and he wasn't employed at any esports organization at the time, but shoutcaster for League of Legends and does streaming and YouTube video, and uh, I remember about 3 weeks ago, I think it's less than a month ago, when in LinkedIn he posted that he got hired by Veloci Esports. I talked with him about a week and a half ago, and they said they're just 6 guys, and they came up with the idea for the Not Osh GP. And their company of 6 guys, and now they're being fucking advertised by Formula One in
Yeah.
Twitter with the reach of millions of people. So uh, it's crazy how things can escalate in a positive way. So I spoke with Mickey because the idea in the beginning was to ask him to actually guest in one of our podcast episodes or in the live stream, and he really wants to do it, but he doesn't have time because
Yeah.
of everything has been
Yeah.
exploding around the sim racing stuff. But yeah, I mean they have Formula One drivers like they've had Nicolas Latifi,
Lando Norris.
Lando Norris. They have Esteban Gutierrez,
Yeah.
Sander Van Dorn. I think there were 6 guys who've been sitting in driving and racing in an actual F1 car.
Yeah.
They have like world-class level sim racers, like the biggest YouTubers from the sim racing community. So it's just amazing to see how people come together to help out others, kind of to give people something else to think about. And yeah, it's just fantastic to see how many initiatives there's going on all over the world, kind of at the same time.
Yeah, the difference between these two is Veloci Esports, they are driving more or less competitively. So they have like competitive settings and rule set and things like that. And the F1 Virtual Grand Prix has some driving aids on and making the field a little bit more even. So it's more of an entertainment. So those two are not competing with each other. They are doing different things. Even if
Wasn't it the other way around?
no,
I think the Veloci thing is it's 25% race.
Veloci is driven with like uh, more uh, true competitive settings.
Wasn't because I didn't watch the Formula One esports thing yesterday, but I was under the assumption that the F1 thing is like the esports drivers are driving an actual GP.
No.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right,
the
then I misunderstood.
F1 thing. There was like celebrities and Johnny Herbert was driving from his retirement and it was totally for the fun. It was not even it was not it said in their announcement this is purely for entertainment. Of course the
Oh, okay.
yeah
I just missed it then, but
yeah yeah
yeah, fair.
yeah. It was totally like Johnny Herbert like got through the first like corner to go from 16th to first just to entertain viewers and things like that. It was just pure entertainment. The F1 thing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I've watched like Veloci's esport things for a longer time. Their own YouTuber series and things like that, and there's like actual racing drivers. So it's the not the GB. It's not like pure esports, but it's closer to that than the F1 official one.
All right, fair enough.
But what I wanted to say that was not my like why I brought this up. I want to brought it up because it gave a monumental boost to some of the drivers there, both Veloci's and F1's, like thousands of new subscribers in YouTube and followers in Twitch. Like Lando Norris had over 1k viewers.
Only 100k viewers.
100k viewers, yeah, 100k viewers. Like his usual streams are like 5k to 10k, and now it's over 100k for this. So it was huge. Like even the biggest the F1 YouTubers who were driving in Veloci's thing, they said that they gained like over 1,000 or thousands of new subscribers in YouTube during yesterday. So this was pretty huge for the F1 community, like F1 esports community.
Yeah. Moving on from F1 esports to League of Legends results from the weekend and then towards the viewer experience. Basically, we have 20 minutes now until or before we go into the viewer experience stuff. Should we do it in the sense that basically I'll first just go over the results from both LEC and LCS, and then you two can start kind of discussing the games a bit more. Obviously, because you've been watching and following, and
Yeah,
you have actually something to say about them.
Yeah,
And then
and we actually we've gone through the Friday's game of LEC in Saturday. We've gone over those games, so you only need to take
Saturday.
Saturday and Sunday from LCS.
Okay. Um, so starting from LEC, on Saturday we had 5 matchups. First, Schalke won against Vitality. Then Origin won SK Gaming. Mad Lions bested Misfits. G2 won XL, and Fnatic win Rogue. Out of this, any big surprises?
Well, not really actually. It's top three teams against lower position teams. Only the one we thought might have some surprise value maybe is Fnatic against Rogue, and it didn't happen. Fnatic just roll over the Rogue.
Yeah.
Only real interesting match of the day was the Mad Lions against Misfits, because it pretty much dropped the Misfits out of the top 4 competition. So Mad Lions really stepped up, and they did very well against Misfits. But other than that, it's pretty basic. Nothing new. To add for Saturday's conversation, the technical difficulties were mostly away from in Saturday. The technical side of things was much better than Friday was, but still some little difficulties. But we got to play all the games, and we had the casting in all of the games. So they build up the core foundation in one day to get everything spooted up for the Saturday.
Yeah. Moving on across the pond. These are in my time zones, but yeah. So Saturday we had TSM winning over Golden Guardians. Cloud9 won 100 Thieves. Team Liquid fell against Evil Geniuses. Dignitas bested CLG, and FlyQuest won against Immortals. Anything to be taken out of this so far, Cameron?
Not necessarily. It was pretty much all set in stone. The only thing I had was Team Liquid. They're supposed to be on the rise. They're supposed to be figuring it out. They lost to Evil Geniuses again. It's not looking good for them. That was not necessarily an upset considering the standings, but considering the caliber of players on the teams, Team Liquid should not be where they are. It should not be where they are.
And especially after they had 1 week to get their shit together
Yeah.
with Proxa, and they come after the 1 extra week of training, which they should have been the team that gets the profit out of it, and they lose
Yeah.
the Evil Geniuses, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Sunday, another full round of LCS. Then Team Liquid won against Golden Guardians. Counter Logic Gaming fell against Cloud9. Immortals wins TSM. 100 Thieves wins FlyQuest, and Evil Geniuses wins against Dignitas. What about Sunday's games?
So these ones were a little more upsets. I went 7-3 in predictions. The first loss was Team Liquid losing to EG. The next 2 were Immortals winning over TSM and 100 Thieves winning over FlyQuest. Again, it's another standings issue where TSM and FlyQuest should not have lost these games today. TSM looked really bad against Immortals, which it was a 40-minute game, and those are always toss-ups, but they lost every single dragon. Nobody was helping Dardoch. It was a bad game for TSM. Whereas 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest was very simply 100 Thieves showed up today. Medios and Cody Sun showed up today. Much better showing out of them. FlyQuest didn't necessarily do anything abnormal, but it was a really big clown fiesta for the first 10 minutes where it was like, what are you guys doing? What is anybody achieving here? It was not a good game of League of Legends unless you're 100 Thieves.
Yeah,
Okay.
this day was just completely fuck Team Liquid day because every like result are against Team Liquid. If Team Liquid lost to Golden Guardians, these results would have taken them totally out from playoff competition. And for Teemu to know, Team Liquid is it's 4 times in a row LCS champion, which only like replaced one player with
Yeah.
like better one in their
With a better
view.
player.
So they upgraded one player and keep the core 4 that has won the 4 championship, and now they are in real risk to get not getting in the playoffs. So that's a really big thing. So like Immortals, 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses, if any of these teams lost their games, it would have been like pretty easy task from Team Liquid to get to playoffs if they win their rest of the games, which is not easy task, but it's doable for them. But
Yeah.
now it's not even close in their own hands. Like they need help from the 100 Thieves or Flycast or TSM to get in the playoffs.
Do I remember correctly that 6 teams advanced to playoffs,
Yep.
right?
For spring, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, all right. And how many games do you play in total during regular season?
Yeah, 2
18.
more. So 18 is total. Two games
Okay.
left.
Right. So Liquid needs to win both to get to 9-9 result, and then they need a lot of help from other teams to secure their spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, they cannot get over FlyQuest or Evil Geniuses anymore. So if they have the same amount of points, they will lose the tiebreaker because they have 2-0 on them. With 100 Thieves, they have 1-1. So if 100 Thieves loses one, and Team Liquid win both of their games, they will have the tiebreaker game with the 100 Thieves, and if 100 Thieves loses both of their games and Team Liquid wins at least one, they will have the tiebreaker game with the 100 Thieves. And if the TSM or FlyQuest loses both of their games and Team Liquid wins both of their games, they will go over them. But it's not likely that will happen. So it's pretty much 100 Thieves they are aiming for.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I'm counting Team Liquid out as of today.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
And
They're
of
not
course, the
making
Immortals
playoffs.
is also, if they lose the both of their games and Team Liquid wins both of their games, they will go over. But if they're tied in the points, they will not proceed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Team Liquid is in, and Team Liquid is playing against FlyQuest and Cloud9, so they are not having an easy week next week.
So it's safe to say that it's actually very likely that the 4-time reigning champion is out of the playoffs in LCS.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. I mean, safe to say it's 100%, but
Yep.
there's still, 100 Thieves, very vulnerable. All Team Liquid has to do is beat FlyQuest, realistically. So,
Yeah.
little give and take, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's most likely that we will have 2 out of 3 Worlds teams last year out of playoff this year.
Yeah.
Because Dignitas was the third Worlds team
Previously
last year,
clutch.
so and they are totally out. They have no way of getting into playoffs. I think I didn't watch the tiebreakers against Immortals on 100 teams, but I think they're out. So it's like pretty upset heavy season overall.
But we had good production We had better production than EU, so
Yeah, you definitely had.
Well, for once, America has something going better than you.
Yeah, but
Barely.
most definitely the production value was way better in LCS than in LEC. Way better.
Okay, so just gonna throw in a question here. Now, Cloud9 is 15-1 so far this season. They have 2 more series left. Their one game is against Team Liquid, who's their other opponent.
Let's
Is it?
see. Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, it's EG.
Okay, so it's quite possible that Cloud9 ends their regular season 17-1, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going into the playoffs then, in this scenario, or well, how it's going to happen, that Cloud9 is probably gonna go 17-1. How do any team stop them at this point? Because they are dominant, right?
It's got to be TSM, right?
Yeah,
They're the only
TSM
team.
is the only one that can stop them.
Their one loss is the TSM, so it'd have to be a really strong best of 5 series, probably in the finals, where Cloud9 loses to TSM monumentally again.
Yeah, it's impossible for them to get each other in the first round, because if I remember correctly, Cloud9 can choose if they want to play against seed 3 or seed 4, and they are
Yeah.
not taking TSM in the first round for sure. That is
They would.
100% sure. They're not going to pick TSM, so they are not facing TSM. They will face TSM in the upper bracket finals probably. So we will get the first best of 5 there, and I think that those teams will be at the grand final also. So we get 2 best of 5s with Cloud9 and TSM. I think so.
Probably. I would agree with that.
So out of these Cloud9 16 games, their 15 wins, and their how was the loss against TSM? Was it like a big
Brutal.
upset?
It was
Brutal?
brutal.
Yeah.
It was
They got
brutal.
decimated?
They got wrecked.
Yeah.
Okay, but they've played against TSM twice this
Yeah.
season
Yes.
so far, right? How was the second game or the first one in
Yeah.
whatever
The
order
the
they were
first
played?
game was the exact opposite. TSM got absolutely decimated.
Yeah, but TSM's season they started very badly. They had
Yeah.
they had very big problems with their new roster, and it took them a while to get their game going on. So the first half of the season, TSM was like competing with Team Liquid in the positions, but the second half is way better for TSM, and I think TSM will be the seed 2 for playoffs. So it's way like better than the first half for TSM. So the current TSM can really compete with Cloud9, and I think the brutal loss for TSM was partly because they was like, I think 12-0 or something in that game. So they didn't really expect to be challenged. So they
Yeah.
didn't maybe take the game that seriously, and they were already going to be in the playoffs. They were going to be the seed 1. So they pretty much let their guard down, and TSM did take advantage of that.
Yeah. TSM was on the upswing. They really are looking like the second place team. I think if they had a better um, beginning to the split, they'd even be challenging Cloud9 for that first place spot. But since they didn't, then they're gonna be stuck with second seed. Um, it's I think it'll be a lot closer than the two teams look, but maybe I'm being pessimistic because I have been a Cloud9 fan for so long. But Cloud9 looks dominant. TSM looks a lot better than they did 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. All right. Basically,
the fourth place competition is still very open.
It's a mess.
Yeah, so the last week will be very important for all of the teams.
Yeah,
um,
most
with
important.
with that said, I think it's time to start shifting towards the League of Legends viewer experience. Now, as I said before, my knowledge of League of Legends is very limited, and therefore my input would be probably useless in this case, which is the reason why I'm going to disappear from the broadcast very soon. Um, Mika and Cameron know what they're talking about when it comes to League of Legends, so I will actually more likely just tune in later on and learn something myself too. Um, so the next hour will be watching League of Legends to get a better understanding of that. So from my part, thank you very much. Click the follow button and we will go live each weekday for now until this corona situation plays itself out. So enjoy the next hour with League of Legends and I will see everybody tomorrow.
Yep, we'll
Sounds
take
good.
this from here.
All right, enjoy and have a good day.
Have a good day, boss.
Ciao.
Okay, let's switch the scene. So we are only two of us from now on. Yeah, but I open here the Summoner Shift map so we can talk a little bit basic things about League and explain about what's the game about if you don't already know or haven't watched or played. So the League of Legends is played 5 against 5 and every player has their own champion which they control. And all of the champions have 4 abilities, or some of them have more, but basically it's 4 abilities they can use, and it's approximately 150 different champions in the game. So it's quite a big variety of champions. So it's played in a map like this. This is the Summoner's Rift, the basic esports map of League of Legends. There is other maps too, but this is the only one that is played competitively. And the both teams have their own bases, and the main structure is called a nexus, and the objective of the game is to destroy another team's nexus. And the teams are going to go forward towards opponent's base through these turrets that are in the lanes, and there, as you can see, there is 3 lanes in the map, and those all lanes have 3 turrets before you can enter the opponent's base. So that's pretty much the basic idea of the game. The League of Legends game, it usually takes around 30 minutes or 35 minutes to complete. Sometimes it's shorter and it can go even over an hour, but basically the normal game is like 30 to 35 minutes. Yeah, that's pretty much the basics. Did I forget something important here?
Not necessarily, but I think it's important while we have the map up to
Yeah.
note the positions. So
Yes.
there's the lanes, the 3 lanes. So we have the top lane all the way at the top. It's the same for whether you spawn blue side or red side, which is noted by the little colors for the buildings.
Yep.
In the middle of the map, we have the mid lane, and at the bottom of the map, we have the bot lane. In between all of those lanes, you see a bunch of neutral camps, a bunch of little rock formations and foresty stuff. That is typically played by a jungler, is the position for that. So as far as basics go, I do think that's about it.
Yeah, and the five member team is also formatted like way that the top lane has one player, the mid lane has one player, the bottom lane has one carry player plus the support player for him, and the one remaining player is called the jungler, and he will mostly take the neutral camps from the area between the lanes, and his main objective is to go to the lanes and try to create 2 versus 1 or 3 versus 2 uh, situations so you can get advantage on that lane. So he will travel through the jungle between the lanes. Uh, and the one important thing to know is that you can only see the area near your champions or your neutral creeps, the minions, or your structures. So the other side of the map is completely black. So the one important thing that both support and jungler are doing, they are placing wards that gives you a vision around them, so you can see if opponent players are moving through the map. So like when we watch the game, we see the vision that the observer sees, but players only see around their team's champions, minions, or structures, or the wards. So it's important to know before we go to the game. And yet we are watching game between TSM and Golden Guardians today. It was played Saturday, so it's pretty new and fresh. We are watching the version that is played online, which is due to current corona situation. Usually the games are played in studio or arenas and are looking a little bit different than this one, but this is the game. This is how the games look for now. But the basic idea of the broadcast, it's the same. It's just missing player cameras and analyst desk and caster cameras and things like that. But the game itself, it's the same, even if it's played online or offline. Yeah, but maybe I will change a little bit. Let's take this and we can see the whole of the screen. But yeah, we'll start on champion select, where the players select their champions out of the 150 champions available. It starts with both of the teams banning 3 champions, and after they're banned the 3 champions, one by one, the players will pick 3 champions per each team, one by one, and this is a way to teams to eliminate some strategical options for another team, or they can like ban away something that is considered overpowered right now. So pretty much you want to eliminate something you don't want to play, and you don't want your opponent to play either. And like the left team is the one who is picking the first one, so the right one has to ban out something that is really overpowered, which would be first picked otherwise. And the left team is pretty much banning out something they don't want to face. So the side you are on matters pretty greatly in this champion select. As you see, the bans are now completed, and the first champion named Syndra is picked, and the players can pick whoever they want. They can switch the champions after the champion select, so you don't have to pick champion for yourself. You are picking champion for your team. So that's also important to know. And here you can see the teams having TSM against Golden Guardians, and you can see how their regular season is going. TSM has won 8 games and lost 6, and Golden Guardians has won 6 and lost 8. And here in the middle there is big LCS logo with white background. Usually there is overhead camera from the studio or arena, so you can see the players and coaches and stuff. But since everybody is playing from their homes and esports centers, it's not available. Yeah, but this is about what's happening in Champion Select. People are picking. When both teams have picked their 3 champions, they will ban 2 more per team and then pick 2 more, and that concludes the champion select. So is there anything else you want to add for this?
Yeah, so it's important to note that while the champions each player is picking are not necessarily played by that player, it does go top to bottom. So the TSM Broken Blade on the top left side, he is the top laner for TSM. Dardoch is the jungler for TSM. Bjergsen is the mid laner for TSM. Kabe is the ADC or marksman or bot carry, whatever they want to call it nowadays. And Biofrost would be the support player. So it mirrors on the other side as well, so it goes top to bottom there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're showing you who they prioritize as far as champion picks go. Like Bjergsen on Syndra is really good, so they first pick the Syndra, but Broken Blade picked it. That doesn't mean that Broken Blade's playing it, and sometimes it can mean that, but they oftentimes will pick what they think is the best pick for their team at that moment.
Yeah, and certain picks can be played in multiple roles. So, for example, Syndra is something that some of the players play in bot lane, and some of the teams play in mid lane. So it's considered as flex pick, as it can be flexed for multiple roles. Like same as Nautilus can be played as support or can be played as mid laner, and there is very much of those champions that can be played in multiple roles these days, and those are considered very high value in the first 3 picks, because you don't really tell about much about your tactical approach when you can flex your champions between the players.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much like chess game. Both of the teams are trying to build up their team, and they are trying to hide their intentions from the opponent, and they want to be the one that ends up with better composition in the end. So this is very important part of the game, and that's why we started with this, even if you really don't understand what this means, but you will in a few minutes when we go to the game and see the different differences between these champions, because all of the champions are very unique. There are no like abilities that are available for multiple champions. Like every ability and every champion is unique, and that makes the game pretty hard to understand in the first glance, because there is much happening, but we will help you through and make your first viewing experience more enjoyable.
Yeah, and so in a few seconds here, yeah, you'll see them all switch all the character arts around. And that's what I was kind of hinting to earlier, is that they don't necessarily get played where they're chosen.
Yeah, and maybe we should talk about those little icons next to champions. Like there is the yellow icon pretty much in everyone's kit. So those are a little bit back, so we will can see and stop here. So those are the summoner spells. So with the 4 abilities per champion, they also have 2 spots for their summoner spells. So those are something you can pick for your champion. So the yellow one is Flash. So it like it teleports your champion for a small small way towards your mouse, so you can hop over the wall or dodge a skill shot or something with it. And pretty much every champion wants to play with Flash because it's such an important summoner spell, because it can save your life when used correctly. So that is certainly the most important summoner spell to know. Other than that, there is I think maybe is it 8 summoner spells available, or maybe more.
It's
But
Flash
anyway,
Ignite.
the
Yeah.
the purple one is teleport. So you can teleport to your some of your structures or wards or minions or some abilities. You can teleport wherever you are in the map. You can channel teleport and teleport to that place. So when the Flash was like just over the wall or just small way, the teleport is available from wherever you are in the map. And it's mostly used in top lane, so top laners can come and help their team if their team is fighting somewhere, so they can join fast. And the green one, which the Bjergsen, Gobi, and Golden Glue has, it's called a heal, and it heals you and one of your teammates near you. That's basic, and it gives a little bit of movement speed, but mainly the reason is to heal one of your teammates to prevent them from dying. The red one is called Ignite. It's used here with Biofrost and Huhi, and it ignites the opponent in fire, and it makes damage over time for few seconds. It's aggressive, early game summoner spell. It's used to get kills in early game, pretty much. And FBI is having cleanse, which means if he is stunned or his movement is disabled in any other way, he can press the cleanse, and the movement disable releases. So it's a get away from jail card, pretty much. And the last one, which Dardoch and Closer has picked, is Smite. It's only used in jungle, and it does damage to the neutral creeps and monsters.
Yeah.
And it can be upgraded so it slows and or does damage over time, damage for champions, but it's much lesser damage than what it does to monsters and creeps. So it's the certain pick for junglers, because junglers need that summoner spell to gain more experience in jungle, so they can keep up with the other players. But these are pretty much the main ones. We are actually in this game we are not missing any key summoner spells, so it's a pretty good game to teach you about. But yeah, anything else to add?
No, I think there are 8 summoner spells because it's barrier and exhaust that we're missing here.
Okay,
Which
yeah.
barrier is just a shield, gives you protection from a little bit of damage, and exhaust slows down the enemy, basically.
Yep.
So
Yes. Maybe we go to start of the game so we can talk about what's happening there. So here, all of the players will start in their own bases, and they will move out around the map. This is the basic formation. They go around the river, which goes through the map, and they will try to gain some vision of the for the team, so they can see where their opponents are and that their opponents are not doing anything fishy. Like sometimes some teams they group up and then go surprise the other team and trying to get early kill here, but this time it's all basic. Everybody is just hanging around in the river and trying to gain some vision about their opponents.
yeah, both teams right now are doing what's called 5-point or the line of scrimmage, where each player will go and look at an area of the fog of war to make sure that their opposing laner or jungler or enemy, whoever's on the other side of that line of scrimmage, isn't going to do anything sneaky.
Yeah.
The minions take a minute and a half to get to lane, same as the neutral buff spawns, which right now we're watching Dardoch fight the blue buff, which gives you mana regen. His top laner goes back to lane, everything else is playing out as a normal League of Legends match would.
Yeah, if you are a fan of Dota 2, these red buffs and blue buffs, which both of the teams has one in their jungle, one of each in their jungle, are like comparable to bounty runes, where they get an early game buff, and like what you have to kill the neutral creep to gain it. So it's comparable to that, but it gives you a buff for a certain amount. Like red buff gives you health regen and damage over time, and the blue buff gives you cooldown reduction and mana. So the mana regen. So they are really important, especially in the early game. So if you manage to steal one of those away from opponent jungler, it's really big thing.
Yep, and then we should probably pause and go over the overlay.
Yep, let's do that. Yeah, in the overlay, in the sites you can see pretty much the same info as you saw in the champion select, like player name, champion, summoner spells, stuff like that. But in addition for that, you can see the rune choice. So all of the players have specific runes they can choose for their champion, and they are giving you like small abilities or stats or some other value, and you can pick the runes to suit your playstyle. So those are also the main runes are visible below the summoner spells, and next to a champion icon you can see the icon for their ultimate ability, which they gain at level 6, and that shows if the ultimate ability is available or no. So that's the sites. At the up, you see the team names, you see how their season is going, and between those there are icons for turrets, so you can see how many turrets the team has taken down, and the gold. The gold is something you get from kills, from monsters, creeps, minions, taking down turrets, etc. And it's something you use to buy items, and you can see the whole team's gold amount in the upside of the screen, and it's something that tells you how much the team has used gold, or has gold available to use for items, so it gives you some amount of info of how strong the team is right now. And in the middle there is like how many kills there are. It's 0 kills for now, so it's 0-0, and below that is the game time. So it's game time is important because certain objectives is available at certain game time, so the game time is actually pretty important. And it's upside, the upper part of the screen, the right side is a timer for Baron to spawn. The Baron is a great big neutral object that is located to the top side of the river, and the left side has timer for next dragon to spawn, and it also tells you which dragon it is. So, and more about the elemental dragons and stuff you can find from our newbie guide of the game, and it explains you differences between those dragons. And the bottom half of the screen, you can see some sponsor logos, and on the right side you see the map, and you can see where the champions are moving in the map, and normally you would see next to sponsor logos and next to minimap you would see the player cameras, but since they are playing at home, you are not seeing the face cams in this game. And the middle of the bottom half you see the score table. Of course it tells you what part of the tournament is going on, and you see all the champions there, and you can see numbers near the champion images. This is the creep score or minion score. It tells you how many minions or creeps or monsters the player has killed, and next to that is your KDA. It means kills, deaths, and assists. It's 0 for everyone because there is no kills happening. And next to that is the items that the player has bought. So right now it's the starting items for everyone, but as the game goes on, they will buy more and more items, and that way they get more powerful. And the last icon there is your what is called? Trinket ward.
Trinket.
Yeah, trinket. You can even have a ward, or you can have a sweeper that helps you to clear out the opponent's ward. So it tells you if the player has a ward available or no. So I think that's the basic overlay. Did I forget something?
I don't think so.
Yeah, let's
thought that was pretty
continue. Right now we are watching the 2v2 in bottom lane. As you can see, the camera is going around the map to show you what's going on, because there is sometimes multiple things going on at the same time, so it can be hard to follow what's happening, but when you watch a little bit more, you will get more used to it, and it always shows the white box in the minimap, so you see where the camera is located right now. And we have no audio because there is casting in the broadcast, and we would be talking over the casters, so it would be hard to understand neither of the talk, so we have muted the sounds so you can hear us better. So the early game is pretty much basic. Everybody is on their lanes and junglers are moving around the jungle, but later in the game the teams are more grouped up and are playing around the map in the way that suits their strategy, but in this early game it's pretty much 1v1s and 2v2s happening. And as you saw in the middle, there was some ganking going on. This going on now. They sent 3 players to upside top lane to kill the Broken Blade, which is not going very well. And the Broken Blade actually won the 1v3 situation there and managed to stay alive and get 1 kill. So that was very well played from him. But these are like basic strategic choices to do. You can send multiple people to get ahead in some lane, but in that way the execution was bad, so they really didn't get an advantage and gave a kill to Broken Blade, which get the first blood, which is more valuable than normal kills. It gives you more gold because it's the first one of the game, so it's very valuable to be the first player to get the kill.
Yeah, and the reason that that's important is because while there are objectives such as towers, dragons, barons, neutral buffs, etc., by the middle and end of the game, usually you're going to be fighting as 5 or 4v4, 5v5s, and you need to have items.
Yeah.
And in order to get items, you need to get money. And in order to get money, you need to kill creeps, jungle camps, or enemy champions.
Yeah.
And
and now as TSM has gotten 2 kills, you can see the gold difference is 1000 gold. So it's pretty significant when you consider it's only played for 5 minutes. Because you can see in a late game or the mid game that like 10,000 gold is like unforgivable, and it's like you cannot come back from 10,000 gold pretty much ever. So like getting 1k or how it's 1.2k, it's a pretty big lead at this point of the game.
yeah, because the gold equals items, and the items equal stats, and the higher the stats are for each champion, the stronger they are. So once you do reach those, 7, 8, 9k, you're already in a rough boat. But once you get past the 10k mark, it's not many teams have ever come back from that big of a deficit.
Yeah. And we are not really focusing about the certain champions or what they do or what their abilities are, because there is 150 different champions, and champions in this game are something you might not see in other games. So we are mainly focusing on what is happening on the map and the screen and in the game overall. So as you can see, TSM got their 3rd kill. Now they sent 2 players to top side to kill their opponent under the turret, and they are doing much better work in that than GG did in the last fight.
Yeah, and TSM also picked up Dragon. That's one of the neutral objectives, like the big monsters, there are 4 different types of dragons. They happen to get the Infernal, which gives them a little bit of a damage boost to all 5 of their champions for the remainder of the game.
Yeah, both of the teams are aiming for 4 dragons, because if you get 4 dragons, you get a buff that will stay with you rest of the game. So getting 4 dragons is very important objective. And after the one team gets the 4 dragons, there will be no elemental dragons anymore. There will be a bigger, stronger elder dragon, which gives you a game-winning buff. Pretty much, it's something you usually don't survive if your opponent gets it.
I'm pretty sure it's like a 30% health execute, something
Yeah,
like that.
of 35, I think.
35, yeah.
Uh,
So
uh,
basically, the enemy team is playing with 35% less health
Yeah.
than they actually have.
Yeah, so it's something that is very very strong, and but it's something you don't get until the late game, because dragons are born every 5 minutes, so it takes you time to get to 4 dragons, and it means you have to get 4 dragons yourself, so you cannot give them to opponent team. And right now they're battling in Rift Herald, which is a smaller neutral monster, which gives you ability to summon the killed Rift Herald in some lane, and it will attack to opponent turrets. So it's making it easier for you to destroy the turrets.
Yep, and up until 14 minutes, each one of those outer turrets, which are the very first turret in each lane, top, middle, and bottom, have 5 plates. And if you can destroy the plates before the 14 minutes, you get extra gold per plate.
Yeah. So the turrets are very important objective in the early game, because they give you money pretty easily if you have a control in your lane. So you don't always have to kill your opponent if you get the turret plates and the first turrets destroyed. And there you saw the Haunter using the flash. He flashed away from Bjergsen's skill shot, so he managed to stay alive. And that is perfect example of how the flash is usually used.
Yeah, it's a very important part of League of Legends.
Yeah, and it's important also because if you use the flash, you cannot use it again for next 5 minutes. So it's important to use correctly. You can't waste it.
Yeah.
For example, if you are a Dota 2 fan, it's pretty much similar to Blink Dagger, but it only is usable every 5 minutes. So, but the usage is the same as Blink Dagger.
Yeah, it's just free and every champion can have it.
Yeah. And why we are like comparing these things to Dota 2 is that Dota 2 is similar in the sense that it's only it's a MOBA, and its map is pretty similar to League of Legends map, and it's played pretty similarly, so it's a good reference. So if you watch Dota 2, you get used to League of Legends quickly, because you know the basic idea of the game. But here we are starting to see the group up. Now there is multiple people in mid lane, which is the most important lane, because it's the shortest way from your base to opponent's base. So it's normal to see 3 to 4 people per team hanging around mid lane in the mid game. like from 15 to 25 minutes. It's not that uncommon. Usually one of the players are playing either top lane or bot lane, and the rest of the team is hanging around middle or moving around the map. But yeah, that's pretty much how the game starts every time. This is pretty much a basic game to watch. There is some fights, usually in bot lane or mid lane, and you might get one kill or lose one player, and now when TSM won that fight, they get the second dragon, and now they are 2 out of 4 already in 13 minutes, so they are in good pace to go towards the 4 dragon mark.
Yeah, we chose this game because it was pretty straightforward from TSM. Makes it a little easier to watch and understand as we're pointing things out. But because they got that second dragon, that means the entire Summoner's Rift, which is the name of the map, changes due to the element of
Yep.
that third dragon, and in this case it's Cloud.
Yep.
Each of the 4 dragons has a different element, which brings a different effect, but the Rift only changes depending on the element of the third dragon.
Yeah, that is a new thing that came this year. So if you're watching this as an old fan and are questioning what is happening here, so that is something that was added in off season.
Yeah.
So here you can see TSM is in heavy lead. They have over 3k. They have 2 dragons, they have 2 turrets, they have 6 kills to 2. So they are in commanding lead, but that's not that unusual that you go to mid game, which starts around 15 minutes with the lead, but you still have to manage to snowball your lead and not lose it. So let's see how TSM is approaching that objective. So right now you see pretty much every player are hanging around mid or goes in and out mid lane, and that's something we see pretty often. And now we can see a big team fight because all the TSM has traveled here and are taking down who he as Nautilus.
Yeah, and this happens a little bit after this part. We get to the what people consider is like a lull state. So you'll notice that Golden Guardians are missing their top lane tier 1 tower and their mid lane tier 1 tower, and TSM are missing their bot lane tier 1 tower.
Yeah.
And once we reach this part, there's not a lot of fighting. Everybody's trying to gather their wits, and it slows down. But then we get people looking for champions that are pushed up a little too far. We get the vision wars, which is where teams go and they ward the enemy jungle, but then the enemy clears out their wards, and then it pushes back and forth over and over again.
Yeah, and at this point, most of the players have one full item and they have parts of the second item. And usually with many champions, the full item is power spike when they want to fight. So whichever team gets first to that 2 item spike, they are trying to get team fights going because they will be stronger in those fights. So now pretty much everyone is having one full item. Pretty much only supports and Golden Glue are the ones that have no full item yet. And I
Yeah,
think Golden
supports.
Glue has called for it, but hasn't been in their base, which has the shop for a while. So I think when he goes back to his base, he will have the full item.
Yeah. Supports usually don't get a big amount of gold share, so they're always a little underpowered or a little underwhelming moving into the mid game. But they ramp up pretty quick after these mid game fights start.
Yeah, and supports are usually champions that are pretty gold efficient, so they don't need much gold to be help for their team. So they are some champions that give you different kinds of abilities, not only damage. They are more of like helping kinds. They maybe have heals or they have crowd control, stuns, etc. So it's something to look about. So they don't need that much gold to be effective. They have some kind of pause situations here. Let's see
I
the
believe it's
continuation of
3805.
the game. Yeah, and then TSM got third dragon there, so now they are one dragon away from Dragon Soul, which is pretty important objective. And of course, if the chat has any questions or want to add something to our tutorial, please do so. I'm having the chat open here, so I will see all your messages. But yeah, now here we see TSM grouping up in the mid to get a turret. They want to have a fight. They want to force Golden Guardians away from the turret so they can take it. But right now it's not looking so hot. Golden Guardians actually get a kill on Broken Blade, which is pretty badly played from TSM.
Yep, and you'll see these little skirmishes quite often where the winning team is going to be pushing the losing team to their limits to try and get a little bit more, to get the extra gold in their pockets. It's usually okay for Broken Blade to die here, for players to die in this situation, because they're not giving away too much. But it is kind of a useless play when you don't get anything off the back of it. So now Golden Guardians can push up their vision line, they don't lose the mid tier 2 tower, and they get a free kill off of it. So
yeah, actually for last 5-6 minutes the gold differences has been pretty stable 3k the whole time, so TSM has not been able to snowball this lead to victory yet.
yeah, and a lot of that comes from, you can look at the bottom middle of the screen, the score sheet, and you'll see Broken Blade and Haunter at the top. Even though Broken Blade has 3 kills and only 1 death, and Haunter has 1 death and nothing else, he's up in farm. And you'll see that again in the jungle position and the bot lane carry position from Golden Guardian's side. They might not be winning objectives, they might not be winning in kills, but they are doing enough to keep themselves at the same pace as TSM currently.
Yeah,
And that's important, like, numbers to look at when you get confused as to why the gold lead isn't increasing or why is it decreasing. The towers, the kills, and the CS will tell you all of that information.
yeah, and as a background for this game, these both teams are playing in North American LCS League, which is the one of the 4 major League of Legends leagues in the world. It's a full professional league, and these both teams are playing in middle ground of the league. So this game was pretty important for the standings. So it's not any like exhibition match or anything. It's full professional league game.
Yep, I believe at the time it was the second and tied for 7th spots,
Yeah, probably.
which even these two teams, as you can see, are only 2 games away from each other, with TSM 8-6 and GG 6-8. So pretty close table at the moment.
Yeah, and if you missed our LEC and LCS special podcast Saturday, you can go and watch it at our YouTube channel, or of course it's the past broadcasts here in Twitch too. But easiest way to get it is Esports Vikings YouTube channel. Me and Cameron, we talked almost 2 hours of LEC and LCS and League overall, so it was something to watch if you are interested of League or betting at League of Legends or watching the League of Legends leagues.
Yeah, just a nice little extra bit of information.
Yeah. And here we see the decimation of Golden Guardians. This fight, they lost 3 and they only got 1, so it's pretty damn bad, and I think they might lose another one if Broken Blade goes this on. Yeah, they played safe and don't want to take any risks. But
Yeah,
they
but you
will
see
get
that gold leaf
another
shoot up.
turret, and probably they will move towards the Baron at least to get vision after this. Or not.
Yeah, they're I said pretty standard, I didn't say completely standard.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game whole. It was on my second screen while I was doing other things, so I did watch the game and I know the result, but I didn't really concentrate on the match. So I really don't know what's happening next in this situation. So I can only guess.
Yeah, TSM Golden Guardians holds for like another 5 minutes. Sorry to spoil it for everybody at home, but Golden Guardians holds it. I do believe it goes to Elder Dragon. It was played on Saturday. I'm a little fuzzy, but pretty standard game from TSM. This is one of those games where if you are new to League of Legends as a whole, or to the LCS or LEC, because this is an English broadcasted game, it's really easy to get into and pick up when you're listening to the casters.
Yeah, the casters are doing very good job explaining what's happening in the map as like champion wise, what champions do, and what the team's decisions and strategical choices are. So they are focusing on that. So the viewer experience within the league is actually pretty good. So they are making sure that everybody is enjoying the game. And if you enjoy this tutorial and you want to watch more, there are English broadcasts on every major leagues, which includes the North American LCS, European LEC, Chinese LPL, and Korean LCK. And all of those are broadcasted in English, in addition to international events as Mid-Season Invitational and the World's Championship tournament. So there is a lot of league for you to watch, and if you want to stay updated on what's happening, or we are reporting on all of those leagues. We are having weekly reports on LPL and LCK, and we are having 2 articles minimum per week for LEC and LCS. One to preview the upcoming matches and one to review the games that happened in the weekend. The LEC and LCS are mostly played during the weekend. So LEC is played Fridays and Saturdays, and LCS is played Saturdays and Sundays. So those are the main leagues that that Western people are following, and the Eastern leagues, the LCK and LPL, they are played pretty much every day of the week. And of course, when they play it in Asia, it's daytime or morning time in Europe and some godly hours in NA.
Yeah, it would have ended like 50 minutes ago for NA.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but
oh,
that's pretty much we have a tournament page for every league. So if you are more interested on what organizations are invested in league and how the leagues are structured, you can go and watch esportsvikings.com and browse the tournament pages, and you will see a specific tournament page for every League of Legends league and tournament that is relevant for you to see.
yeah, and then we also have the viewer guide written out for those of you that are interested in a little extra information, a little extra structure to things that are going on screen here. As well as if you're interested in playing the game, we also have some handy dandy beginners, amateur, and professional guides.
Yeah, and of course you can find us in Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and mostly the Twitter. B and Cameron are also responding to your messages, so you can find Esports Vikings in all of those platforms, and for Finnish audience, I'm reporting the LEC and some of the LCS games in our Finnish Twitter, and we are doing some basic reporting in our English Twitter, and of course our betting Twitter is having betting tips for before the weekend's games begins, so you should check them out.
esportsvikings.com.
esportsvikings.com, and the game is about to end, and so is our special viewer experience League of Legends podcast thingy.
We
So
should go over some lingo.
yeah,
Just quick.
actually that's a very good point. So I will stop this here and let's go some words. Let's go. Do you want to begin or?
Yeah, I'm on just our viewer page.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different, when it comes to esports, guys, the casters are shoutcasting the game to the audience. And over the years, we've picked up some words that are not necessarily your common word that you would hear in everyday talk. They're not necessarily words that would mean the same thing as they would in normal conversation, right? And we call this lingo, shoutcaster lingo. Um, and it's stuff that might not necessarily be familiar to you, especially if you're visiting the viewer page. So we're going to go over a couple of those words. One of the main ones that comes to mind, of course, is scaling. And casters will oftentimes refer to a singular champion or a team composition, which is all 5 champions, and refer to them as a scaling comp or a poke comp. And what this basically means is a scaling comp is a scaling composition. The champions in this team are going to take a longer time to reach their peak damage ability. Might take 4 items, which is a little bit longer than your average champion. But once they hit that 4 item mark, they're going to be putting out the damage. A poke composition is something where maybe 3-4 of those champions are doing most of their damage from afar. The rest of these words are a little more specific, like the Xpeke, where there was a famous player named Xpeke. He played for Fnatic and Origin, and really good player, and there was a renowned play that he made where he went behind enemy lines. He teleported, I believe, and just ulted, used his ultimate ability to dodge the enemy team and kill the Nexus while the rest of the enemy team was destroying his Nexus. It was a really good play. And you might see it referred to in common caster talk when one champion goes into the enemy's base while their own base is getting destroyed. Synergy is another often used term that refers to champions or players and how those players work together. So in the last game, we saw TSM's bot lane, Kabi, and Biofrost. They have a pretty good bot lane synergy. And then you can extend that to saying that their champions, Aphelios and I forgot the other one, their champions had good synergy as well because they were able to use those champions to their full effect in order to beat Golden Guardian's bot lane, or Golden Guardian's bot lane synergy was really poor.
Trash was
Recalling
the
or
champion you were fighting there.
yeah. So recalling or backing is what comes to mind next, which is just the there's a secret seventh ability that every champion gets where they can click the B button and go home in order to buy instead of getting killed or walking back to base. So they'll say recalls, stopping recalls, they're backing. Those might not be familiar terms to everybody.
Yeah, and maybe one word that comes to mind that casters usually use is rotation.
Rotation.
Which means that players are moving around the map from, for example, from bottom lane to mid lane to group up, or they can switch lanes or go to objectives, so they are making rotations all over the map. It's referred for player movement or team movement.
Yeah, they use that one a lot nowadays
Yeah.
with the Rift Herald rotations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those are the main ones. All the other ones get a little specific, such as Smite Fight,
Yeah.
50-50s. Those refer to when each jungler on the enemy team are both fighting over the same epic buff, such as the Dragon or the Baron, or even the neutral camps. But more often than not, they're talking about when one team has control over the Dragon Pit and the enemy jungler comes into the equation and both of them have Smite Fight 50-50. Or like a gank is when the jungler player rotates to one of their lanes in order to do one of those 2v1, 3v2 fights, force one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we covered the basics. So if you are watching games next weekend, just come to Twitter. Just message us if you don't understand something, and we are more than willing to help you get your next viewer experience better. And of course, go watch our guides, go watch our news, go follow us on social media, like this video on YouTube and all that basic stuff. And of course, subscribe for more content and whatever I have to say in the end of this video, which is going to be uploaded in YouTube today or at least tomorrow. So, thank you, Cameron. It's always a fun times with you. And
Absolutely.
thank you for the viewers, and have a great day or night in your case. See ya.
Thank you very much.